a quick video on how I set up my Caridina tank. It's a 10-gallon tank. What I use the for the lighting. I use a Fluval Nano. These I have these lights on all my tanks, and I know these lights are designed for rimless tanks, but I modify the tank so they fit. I use either a 20 long or 10-gallon rimmed tanks, and I use for the bacteria. I use the Brightwell. Brightwell things are really good. This is what I use Caridina Plus or GH Plus to mineralize it, but I also use the salty shrimp. Um, and I use this fluorine multi. I use that to feed the bacteria when I put it in the tank and to promote algae while the tank is cycling. And I use Walmart distilled water. I don't do my own distilled water. I don't know. I feel like it's a waste. I haven't. It doesn't really make sense to do it because you waste. It's like a 3 to 1. Like you waste 3 gallons to make 1 gallon. So if I can get these for under $1, I just buy like 10 of them at Walmart instead of wasting all that water. And for the substrate, again, I use Brightwell. Um, Fine. Sometimes I use extra fine, but this substrate is really good. The main thing is you have to kind of make sure there's no air in the bag, or I guess this bag is pretty sealed. I'm saving this bag for the 5 gallon. I'm gonna do another 5 gallon tank. I'm gonna put it by my desk to put maybe juvenile shrimp in. But these are the products that I use, and obviously I use a a meter to test the TDS in the water. So this is the tank. Skipped everything, already loaded it up. But this is the modification that I make to get the nano to fit on a rim tank. I just get like a use like a razor and just trim this off, trim this plastic off just a little bit on both sides, and then I clip it on. And again, see all on my other tanks, I have that. Um, I trim it. This light is really good. It has the built-in timer, full spectrum, and it does really well with promoting algae growth. And what I'll do is I put about 2 gallons in of the water to get it about maybe 3/4 of the way up or a quarter of the way up. Then you pour the substrate in because the main thing with the substrate is you don't want too much contact on the substrate without water. So instead of like neocaridina tanks, I put the substrate in first and then slowly add the water. With this substrate, I put the water in first and then add the substrate. And what I just keep mineralizing this until I get it to about 150. Right now, you see it's at 109. So I'll just keep adding a couple of pumps of this to get it up to 150. If I go over, then I'll just take some of the water out and I'll check back in another 4 hours or so to see what the TDS is. Once I get it to 150, I just stop. And again, I don't do water changes in the Caridina tanks. So with this substrate, it generally doesn't leach any ammonia. But I will check it. I'm going to let this tank cycle for about 8 weeks. So about right before Christmas, I'm I'm gonna let this. I want this tank to turn like that. I want it to be algae all over. But that's gonna take some time. Because one thing when you're making a carrot in a tank, you can't rush. You have to take your time. Patience is key with all of these shrimp. Yeah, you're gonna end up losing them. They're not gonna thrive. Patience is everything. So in the tank, I just have a Indian almond leaf way in the back. It's probably a bad spot for it. Um, and I have some driftwood with It looks like there's some Java moss on there and some wasatang kind of mixed in together. Sorry. So the Java moss, the subwasatang, and the driftwood, and that's it. And I have the leaf in a feeding bowl. And the filter, wow, this is kind of cloudy. Sorry, I have to once it cycles and I'll clean the glass and everything. But I have just a regular sponge filter. I kind of modified the sponge filter also. I zip tied the old sponge filter that was in this tank because there is some bacteria in that already, and I zip tied it to the top and kind of pressed it down. And I use an air stone inside the sponge filter so that way I get more bubbles and this quieter. So again, the only modifications I do is the the rim for the Flowable Nano so that it fits on a standard 10-gallon, and I modify the filtration. And right now it's just patience. Just let the tank. I'm gonna let the tank sit for about 2 months. I'll do like a follow-up video. So 2 months from now is like right before Christmas. Wow. Yeah, and we'll see how it's doing. I'm not going to add any shrimp. What I'm going to put in this tank is the Red King Kongs, because right now the tank next to it, I have Red King Kongs mixed with Shadow Pandas, and the Shadow Pandas are kind of overtaking this tank because they're breeding constantly. A lot of Shadow Panda babies, and I see that I have a couple of buried Red King Kongs. Finally, for the first time ever, I have Red King Kongs buried. So give them 2 months. By then, they should have, you know, their eggs should have dropped and they'll be Red King Kong babies. So once this tank is ready, I'm just going to transition the Red King Kongs out of here and put them in there. And I'm also going to create a desktop 5-gallon. I'm probably going to set that one up later today and have that one cycle for the 2 months as well. That will be on my computer desk, so that way, whatever shrimp I decide to put in there will be right there next to me while I'm gaming or working on a computer or whatever. But yeah, this is a very simple setup. Main thing is to let the tank age. Let it. It's like wine. You have to let it age. Don't rush to put anything in the tank. Add your distilled water, add your salt, your remineralized, add your bacteria, and then you add a little bit of the multi, which is it's kind of an I guess it is a fertilizer, but it's specifically made for like Caridina tanks. I'm not really fertilizing the plants, I'm fertilizing the bacteria. So that way, while the tank is cycling, the bacteria has something to eat and use to grow and um, promote the cycling of the tank. But I'll check back in about 2 months just to see how this tank is doing before I add the shrimp. All right.